Hello and welcome to today's video. If you own or care for horses, you've likely asked yourself, should I feed my horse hay or haylage? These two types of forage are both common options for horses, but their differences can be significant, from their nutritional value to their storage requirements. Today we'll take a closer look at the key differences, advantages and potential drawbacks of hay and haylage. By the end of the video you'll have a clearer understanding of which is more suitable for your horse depending on their needs and your circumstances. To start, let's define what hay and haylage are. Hay is the traditional forage choice for horses. It is made by cutting grass, leaving it to dry in the sun and baling it once the moisture content is reduced, generally speaking between 14 and 16%. The drying process allows for the hay to be stored for extended periods, and often hay harvested this year is stored and needs to last until next year, until the next harvest. Haylage, on the other hand, is a semi-dried forage. It is baled at a higher moisture content, typically between 45 and 60%, and then wrapped in airtight plastic. This wrapping creates an anaerobic environment, allowing a light fermentation process to occur. Think of haylage as a middle ground between fresh grass and completely dried hay. The nutritional value of hay and haylage can vary depending on what type of grass and how it is processed. However, there are some general differences to note. In terms of protein and energy, haylage typically contains higher levels of crude protein and digestible energy. This is because it is harvested at an earlier stage when the plants are still rich in nutrients. Horses with higher energy demands, such as performance horses, may benefit from this additional energy. Hay generally has higher sugar levels because of the drying process concentrating these sugars. While this can be useful for horses needing an energy boost, it may pose a risk for horses prone to laminitis or other sugar-sensitive conditions. Haylage is typically lower in sugar in comparison to hay. The reason being that during the wrapping process, post-baling, when haylage is wrapped and left to ferment, the bacteria that facilitates fermentation utilizes sugars within the haylage, converting them to lactic acid and volatile fatty acids, making the end product of haylage lower in sugars. Both hay and haylage provide fiber, essential for healthy digestion in horses. However, the fiber structure in haylage tends to be softer, making it easier to chew and digest, particularly for older horses or those with dental issues. One thing to note is that while typically lower in sugar, as haylage is usually cut when the grass is less mature, it tends to be more digestible and therefore higher in energy than hay, which means horses do well on it, but it might be an additional amount of calories that your horse might not need. One of the most significant differences between hay and haylage is their microbiological quality. For hay, to avoid mold, it must be thoroughly dried before baling, reaching a dry matter content of at least 85%. If hay is baled while still too moist, it is highly susceptible to mold growth, which can make it unsuitable or even dangerous for horses. Moldy hay can cause respiratory issues such as hives or coughing due to dust and the fungal spores. The wrapping process in haylage and fermentation reduce the risk of mold and dust, making haylage a safer option for horses with sensitivities. However, haylage must be handled carefully. If the wrapping is damaged or the haylage is exposed to air for too long, spoilage can occur, leading to bacteria growth or contamination. The production of hay and haylage is heavily influenced by weather conditions. Hay requires multiple consecutive dry days to dry in the field, and it needs to be turned around as part of the drying process. This makes it vulnerable to unexpected rainfall, which can lower its nutritional value and increase the risk of spoilage. In regions with unpredictable weather, producing high-quality hay can be challenging. Haylage, on the other hand, requires less time to dry as it's baled at a higher moisture content, and the shorter drying period reduces the risks associated with bad weather, making haylage a more reliable option in wet climates. If you are in a region where dry, sunny days are rare during the harvest season, then haylage might be the more practical and safer choice. In terms of storage, both hay and haylage have their own storage requirement and practical considerations. Hay is easier to store long term if kept dry. It requires a well ventilated dry storage area to prevent moisture from seeping in. It is suitable for smaller yards or stables as it can be used over time without any spoilage. Haylage, on the other hand, requires airtight wrapping to maintain its quality. Once opened, haylage must be used quickly, usually within 5 to 7 days, depending on the climate and storage conditions. This makes it slightly better suited for larger stables where it can be fed quickly. If you have any additional questions that we haven't covered about either hay or haylage, leave a comment below. And don't forget to hit the like button as well. See you soon.